All right, good afternoon, traders. Today is April 7th, 2025. My name is John Kerrigan. I moderate the BYOB Trading Room. Hey, I want to thank all of my subscribers for subscribing. Thank you. I don't take that for granted. I'm glad you see the value in my content. I want to thank everybody out there in digital land. Thank you for subscribing, following, joining my Facebook group, anything like that. Thank you for the kind comments. Again, thank you for finding the value in my comment. Appreciate that. Love that. All right, let's go take a look at some charts today. All right, first chart we'll look at SPY on the 10-minute chart. Let's move this out of the way. All right, 10-minute, we got a downtrend coming into the close. Looks like it's going to cross right here. 10-minute downtrend coming into the close. Let's take a look at the 2-hour. 2-hour downtrend coming into the close. Daily chart, still in a downtrend. If we look at it from scratch here, all the way down here, in bearish territory. Okay, lower high, lower low. Closing below the trap, below the 17. Below, all-time high anchored VWAP right there. All right, it's in a downtrend. Weekly chart, same thing, weekly. All right, making lower lows. Here's a low, there's a low, there's a lower low. All right, weekly downtrend. Okay, so making a lower low there. Okay, and price action for game plan. Let's take a look at the game plan on the 5-minute. All right, got to move this stuff out of the way, and you can see price action right out of the gate. All right, so on the game plan, we like Friday options. So that would be 4 days till expiration or 11 days till expiration. Now, let me just explain. Normally, all right, we like $2 to $5 out of the money, but okay, the options had a whole lot of volatility priced into it. I got to tell you, when that happens, you're kind of better off just selling spreads, selling premium if you can, especially when they're overpriced the way that they are, the wide bid ask, even though there's a lot of open interest. It's a tough day today. Tough day for a lot of traders. All right, you can see price action on the 5-minute chart. Let's take a look at it from this one. You can see the 3 EMA is this yellow line. See how it crosses over the white line? See the white line crosses over, crosses under, over, under, over, under. When it does that 2 times or 3 times before noon, okay, that's a chop day. Probably going to just chop up your account. All right, just kind of staying clear of that. All right, it's just not worth it. All right, so right out of the gate, we played our normal 15-minute box. Okay, so we come in and we box off the first 15 minutes, right, like that. And whichever direction breaks out of the box, we go with that direction. So you can see the bulls broke out of the box this morning. All right. Oh, by the way, I want to congratulate Alan. Alan made 28%. In other words, he made 28 daily goals. Okay, our daily goal is 1% of our trading account. Okay, he made 28 of them in one day. All right, that's just incredible. 28 daily goals in one day. In other words, he made enough for a whole month and then some, because there's only like 20 trading days. All right, so congratulations, Alan, on that. And let me just say, there's some other notables in the room. All right, I saw a couple of 13, couple of 12, couple of 8. All right, a lot of other notables making big ones, but Alan stood out because he made the most that I saw today. So nice work, Alan. All right, so what we had is a breakout of the 15-minute candle, 15-minute box. So we went with the bullish calls, all right, and you can see we had is a crazy, crazy rip. This is like a once-in-a-lifetime rip. 489, all right. Some of the weekly candles some of our monthly candles aren't even this big. All right. 489 right there. and the high 523. Okay, I'm just going to say some of our monthly candles aren't even that big, that wide. And that happened in a matter of, let me just say 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes. All right? You had a monthly move inside of 25 minutes. Okay, that was 23 and 11. Let me math. I think that's 33. Yeah, 33. Okay, so that's $33 rip inside of 25 minutes. Okay, that's where you make your money. That's where you make some big dough right there. All right, $33 rip inside of 25 minutes. That's just crazy. All right, like I said, some monthly candles aren't even that big. All right, and there's a reason why we play the $2 to $5 out of the money. Okay, how about that 1 5-minute candle? That's like, let's see here. So let's just call it 495. All right, and we'll come up here and we'll call this 417. All right, 495, 417 says 17 and 5. That's $22. $22 5-minute candle right there. $22. All right. If you got 5 contracts, you're on the wrong side of this. Guess what? You're in big trouble, especially if they're in the money options. All right. And that's why we play out of the money. All right. There's a reason for it, because when you get high volatility like this, it can strip you of your whole account in 5 minutes, just like that. All right. So there's price action for SPY. Again, up, over, under, just a tough day. And if we look at the game plan, you can see we gapped down. So we were looking for a bearish trade, but the bearish trade never developed from the first 15 minutes. So you can see we took the rip all the way up there, made some money on the rip. All right. And then price pulled back all the way back down to here. The VWAP, we made some money on the lower high all the way back down here. Other than that, I was in short, a lot of wind up here, looking like a big breakout's coming soon. I still haven't seen that bearish capitulation that I'm looking for, that panic selling where people freak out and just start liquidating anything and everything in their account. I haven't seen it yet. Okay, now we're down quite a bit. All right, I'm just going to tell you guys right now, okay? The same cats that are selling this stuff, all right, are going to be the same cats that buy it tomorrow, okay? Trust me, all right? BlackRock may be getting rid of NVIDIA today, but trust me, they'll be buying it back tomorrow, all right? Same goes for all the other ones, all right? I'm just saying, all right, don't get fooled. They're just whipping it around right now because they can, because we got some guy talking about tariffs. All right, so just play it safe. All right, don't get spooked out, don't panic, don't freak out. Okay, everything will probably return, maybe not to those highs, but price will come back. All right, just not immediately. All right, so SPY pivot today 511.10 right here. See, we're under it. It's a bearish trade there, but we gapped down so far, all right, that we had to come back. So we had a huge rip back, came back down, and then just coiled up right here, right along that low anchored VWAP from today. All right, so all in all, was a tough day. See, here is the green, red erases green right here. So you got a lower high, so we traded that right down into there. Okay, so there's the SPY game plan, where it really became irrelevant today, only because we played the 15-minute brick right out of the gate. Okay, and then after that, we could trade this lower down to here. That was it, and then this lower down to here. Other than that, price just coiled up right here on top of that low anchored VWAP. All right, so there's price action there. And you can see the price entry over 514.65. Okay, there was no, see, it's a big topping wick. We don't buy big topping wicks, all right, especially when we're going to go bullish, because that's a bearish candle. See how far the bears pushed it back? I mean, they controlled more. Look at the candle control. They controlled at this area. They controlled way more than half of that candle. I think they controlled like 90% of that candle. All right, so we don't buy a candle where bears are in control. So that first entry never triggered right there. Okay, what we do trade, all right, is 10-minute uptrends over VWAP and 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. That's what we do trade. All right, and we happen to have a 15-minute block breakout, and we traded that all the way up into this peak right up there. So there's SPY. Let's take a look at QQQ. And on QQQ, game plan again. All right, same deal, 15-minute brick. All right, the breakout was to the upside. All right, if you played the brick or the block breakout, you got a nice trade up there. Again, red comes down underneath the red. See the red? Red erases green right there. You could have traded that down into this bullish engulfing. Same one again down to this bullish engulfing. And that's it. And they just consolidated under prior consolidation. That's a bearish outlook. All right, there's QQQ. Pivot today for QQQ for 26.90. All right, and the bullish entry was over 433. Again, you can see the candle. It was nothing but wick. All right, we don't buy nothing but wick. All right, because that doesn't work for us. All right, nothing but wick. That shows us bears are in control. 90% of that candle. So we're not going to buy a candle and go long when there's a situation of price. How do I say it? Price is not going to be bullish. The bears are in control. We want something where the bulls are in control. So there's QQQ. All right, let's take a look at the scratch. Look at the daily. All right. Again, we got, guess what? Oh, we got an outside day. Oh, freaky, huh? Let me go just check SPY one more time. Nah, it's a lower high. QQQ. So QQQ gave us an outside day. That's a higher high and a lower low, closing underneath the bearish trap, underneath the falling 17. That's the red dots. Underneath, see the pink line, all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, underneath midpoint, quadrant 1, that's bearish. Right, making lower highs and making lower lows. That's bearish. FNGA. All right, another outside day. Okay, that's a higher high and a lower low. Closing underneath the bearish trap, underneath the falling 17, underneath all-time high anchored VWAP, quadrant 1. That's bearish. See, it's making lower highs and lower lows. It's a downtrend. It's bearish. Quadrant 1, bearish. All right, IWM, outside day as well. What's with all the outside days? Higher high, lower low, closing underneath the bearish trap, underneath the falling 17, that's the red dots, underneath the pink line, all-time high anchored VWAP, underneath, see the gold line? Underneath the uptrend line, down here in quadrant 1, it's bearish. Let's take a look at Diamond Dow. All right, lower high, lower low, closing under the trap, under the 17, under the all-time high anchored VWAP, under the uptrend line, quadrant 1, that's bearish. That's Diamond Dow. Let's take a look at our technicals. T2122. All right, we were in the oversold zone all day, from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. We were so close to being zero, you don't even see a yellow line. That's how badly things were today. 0.12. All right. 0.12, 0.13. I mean, talk about being oversold. Definitely oversold. Okay, so just by looking at that, all right, I'll bet T21's 22. I haven't even seen it all day. It's probably going to be red from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, being since all they did was sell, sell, sell all day. All right, let's go take a peek at T21.23. All right. Oh my gosh, we got some green. All right. Bearish gap down. All right. Bulls couldn't fill the gap. That is a bearish environment. Consolidation under prior consolidation. Another bearish environment. Gap down. Bulls can't fill the gap. Bearish environment. Okay. Selling from the beginning of the day till about noon. And then it looks like they got a 1, 2, 3, 4 martini lunch. All right, then they continued with the selling. All right, there's T21.23. T21.23, 3 bar, 3 more red candle bars, price action caught underneath fading 200 SMA right there. Price action underneath these 2 lower green lines, prior all-time highs. This is the all-time high up there. Okay, price action moving down, starting to bounce now. All right, see how price is kind of moving up from the bottom as opposed to hanging out at the bottom like it did before. It's starting to bounce. Okay, notice here it hangs out at the bottom. 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 All right, now we're starting to get some bounce. So obviously there's some support down here. All right, there's T21.23, 3 bar chart, okay, in a downtrend, making lower highs, lower lows, and lower highs, yeah, and lower lows, T21.23. All right, FNGU, price action, selling from the beginning of the day. No, got a little red, green, red, green, red, green. Okay, so they're snatching it up here. All right, so we move down. They fill the gap. All right, almost filled the previous day's gap. See right here, got a gap open there. Almost filled the previous day's gap. Price action kind of hanging out here, right over VWAP. That's a little bit bullish. Still caught underneath this downtrend line. That's bullish when the bulls fill the bearish gap right there. Still caught underneath the 200 SMA. All right. Here's the problem. We're not making any higher highs. Okay. Still not making any higher highs yet. So that's FNGA. Let's go take a look at. Let's take a look at some technicals. Actually, some sectors. We'll start off with XLE. All right. XLE under the trap, under the 17, under the all-time high anchored VWAP right there, or the 12-month high anchored VWAP, excuse me. That's a 12-month high. All right, under downtrend line 1, downtrend line 2, under the midpoint, quadrant 1, that's bearish, making lower lows. All right, not a lower high, because that's a higher high. But they're making lower lows, so that's a downtrend. They broke the lows. All right, let's take a look at USO. All right, USO got an outside day, higher high, lower low, closing under the trap, under the 17, under this 3-year high anchored VWAP. That's a post-COVID high right there. All right, 3-year high anchored VWAP under the uptrend line, making lower highs and lower lows. It's a downtrend down here in quadrant 1. That's bearish. That's crude oil right there. U.S. oil fund. Let's take a look at UNG. All right, UNG, lower high, lower low, closing under the trap, under the 17. Okay, under the uptrend line, over this 12-month high anchored VWAP right there. Over the midpoint, it's just neutral. Okay, they go up and they give it up, so it's neutral. All right, if they could have gone up and held the upper third, that would be bullish, but they couldn't do it. Okay, all they could do is go up and give it up. All right, so we got a lower high and a lower low here. Making lower lows, so we are in a downtrend, UNG. All right, let's take a look at GLD. All right, GLD, lower high, lower low, closing under a trap under the 17. All right, under the all-time high anchored VWAP up in quadrant 4. That's bullish. Let's take a look at SLV. SLV in a downtrend, they made a lower low. See the low? They beat that low and that low and that low right there. So they're in a downtrend. They made lower lows. All right, price action for today, inside day. All right, it's a higher low and a lower high, closing under a bearish trap under the 17. Okay, we're under that 12-year high anchored VWAP. Okay, that's silver. The all-time high is 48. All right, and it doubles up as a 6-month high anchored VWAP. All right, we're underneath it. All right, so that's bearish. Okay, if we get into the lower third, that'll be bearish. Right now, we're neutral. Right now, we're in a downtrend. Here's a low. We made a lower low, so we're in a downtrend. All right, let's take a look at SMH. All right, SMH outside day, closing under the trap, under the 17, under the all-time high anchored VWAP, under the uptrend line. Price action here in quadrant 1, that's bearish. Okay, you go up, you give it up and more, that's bearish. All right, that's SMH. Take a look at the sibling to SMH, is the XLK. It's technology sector, and outside day as well. Higher high, lower low, closing under a bearish trap, under the falling 17, under the all-time high anchored VWAP, under the uptrend line right there. Okay, so price action down here in quadrant 1, that's bearish. Lower highs, lower lows, that's bearish. Let's take a look at XLF. XLF, lower high, lower low, closing in the lower third. All right, so that's bearish. Closing underneath the trap. All right, 3 underneath the 8, that's a bearish trap. Underneath the falling 17. All right, underneath the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's the pink line. Falling 17 are these red dots right through there. The price action for XLF is bearish in the lower third down here. All right, let's take a look at IYT. Outside day, higher high, lower low, closing under the trap, under the 17, under the all-time high anchored VWAP, that's a pink line. Under the midpoint, quadrant 1, that's bearish right there. All right, traders, that's it for me today. All right, I had a pretty decent day. I think I inked out 8,000 in gains with all the pluses and minuses. Okay, so not a bad day for me. Nothing like Alan. Alan did awesome. A lot of traders did awesome here today. Okay, so that's my day. This was a put spread that finally manifested earlier, and I was able to clean it out with a profit right there. So there's the put spread that I had. And I was upside down 20K, and you can see I came back right there. All right. That big candle pop in the middle of the day for SPY. Yeah, in the middle of the day, that really helped solve the problem. Okay? That solved the problem right there. Thanks, Rod. Congratulations on your daily goals. I know you got more than one. Scott, same to you. I know you got more than one. All right. Rickster, you had big gains. You had a market order. I would have had big gains. Almost. Okay. Tomorrow's another day. All right. Peter, awesome. Jim S., thank you. Another productive day. Almost 5 daily goals. Love it, Jim. Thanks for sharing. It's good for people watching the videos to see this. All right. A lot of guys made some goals today. Okay. There's some people that like to share. A lot of goals made today. Right here in the BYOB Trading Room. All right. We do it right. All right. And let me just say, we like the 10-minute uptrend over VWAP and the 10-minute downtrend under VWAP. All right, until tomorrow. All right, I will see you guys all tomorrow at 8. And guess what? We're going to do it again. All right, until tomorrow. Everybody have a wonderful evening. Thank you. Hey, Mel, 10K, nothing to sneeze at. All right, 10K is a good day. Right? It's better than better than the goose egg. You did good. Way to go, Mel. Mel made 10K. Check this out. She said she would have had 35, but she ended up with 10. All right. So there you go. See? A lot of profits here in the BYOB Trading Room. All right. If you ever want to join, find me. I will help you join. All right, traders, that's it for today. Have a great evening.